Welcome this morning at this webinar. Today I want to talk to you about the overview of digital components required for manufacturing implant retained restorations. I am Jerome Kleinsma. I'm a digital specialist and certified dental technician for the company Dental Access. Let me first take you through the agenda. Today we're going to talk about a little bit more about the implant parts, the implant in detail, transferring implant positions, scan bodies, printed model analogs to be more exactly, and tie bases, and the CAD implant library integration. So about implant in detail, I think all of us know really what the implant is, but I want to go through all the steps to make you a little bit more clear why we need certain information on the digital part and certain parts we need. So what's the structure of a dental implant? Of course, we got, in this picture, they call it the screw. It's technically the implant itself that is implanted into the bone structure. It heals. And on top of that, we're going to create our restoration. That can be part by using an abutment, for example, and on top of it, a crown. There are many more applications like a complete bar, locators, all that stuff. But that's technically what it is. The base part that's integrated into the bone, a part that's in between, and then the crown on top of that. So it's a surgical component. It connects jaw, bone to restorations. Typically, it's made of titanium, but we also see that it's been made out of a ceramic like zirconia. It needs to be inserted by a dentist or a certified surgeon. On top of that, we're going to create something that's being created by the lab technician. So that are abutments, screw retained crowns, bars, or dentures. So what's the entire workflow of restoring an implant with CADCAM technology? First of all, we're going to scan, and we need to define the location of the implant, the orientation, the rotation. I'm going to a little bit more in details a little bit later. Then we do the CAD, the designing on top of that one, and the interface with the implant, how it's going to be, like the emergence profile and all the connections. And then we talk about, then it's basically CAM, so milling or 3D printing your restoration. So really scan, design, manufacture in quick steps. I want to go a little bit more in details because what is the digital workflow? In fact, we got a conventional way, it's doing the normal impression with a pickup coping into an impression. And my camera slides away, sorry for that. So hopefully this is fine. So sorry, and then we have the creation and we have the impression. We have the plaster model. On that plaster model, we're gonna put the scan body. I'm gonna talk a little bit later also about scan body, what it is. We're going through it. Your design, you make a model, you make your final restoration. You can go intraoral scanning directly from the mouth with a scan body design, making your models or the final restoration. Or we're going to do guided surgery, so it's already planned in advance. So, but what technically is it? What do we need to know when we are able to create a CAD/CAM restoration on implants? We need to have actually a transfer key from an in situ situation to the digital model positioning of the implant. If you look on the picture on the right side, you see beautiful shining elements that are the implants basically in situ in the mouth. But we need to know where is the implant exactly, how deep, on what position, on X, Y, Z position, if it's rotated. And if we have that, we can align that with the digital information we want to work on. So here you see a part that is basically a transfer key, and that's a scan body. The next slides will explain a little bit more. But with this part, we are able to determine what the X, Y, and Z position is of an implanted implant, and also if it's rotated. So here you can see a little bit better. It is the transfer key and the scan body. It knows exactly where my implant is going to be in my digital restoration or in my model. And like I said before, we talk about scan bodies. A scan body is very precision manufactured. It seats into the implant interface. One of the big players from that one is Elos MedTech. They are a contracted manufacturing for Noble Biocare, so they have all the knowledge, years of experience in creating the parts. Scan bodies are most of the time radio opaque, so you can make an X-ray to check your signature verification. And it has a contained screw. And when we have that, that is able to be, we are able to align that with the digital model in the scan software. It transfers exactly the position of the real implant into the mouth into my digital file. One thing that's very important is, and I'm going to mention it already now, and I'm going to mention much more often later on, is that the laboratory needs to have the same corresponding library. If you don't have a corresponding library, it's always like you get a file from your clinician, from the dentist, from the surgeon, and you have no idea what to make on it. You don't know what's being made, so you need to make sure you and your clinician are on the same page. You know what kind of material you use, you know what kind of library you're using. Here you see, for example, some of them you might recognize this one. This is also an Elos scan body. So this is an intraoral scan, or this is a model scan actually of an implant case. On the lab, the scan bodies are screwed in. It's being scanned on the computer. You verify really what's what and where your implant position is going to be. If that's accurate, you know exactly where you can start designing your implant case. And from your scan body, going to scan body, what's the position of the scan body together with the implant, and then I know exactly the position of the implant. It's quite simple. So if we are scanning an implant, we need to know some things. If we're going to zoom into an implant into the mouth, it's difficult to see with the naked eye. It's metallic, it might reflect, it's small, it's difficult to see. It might be under a thick layer of tissue, and most of the time there's blood. So yeah, it's very difficult to see. So how do we know what 100% the implant position is? Well, we can do that very simple. We can use the scan body, attach a scan flag or scan body. It stands on top of the implant, very, we call it proud, above soft tissue. It is peak, but it's also cleanable, autoclavable. Most of the time it's radio opaque, so you can verify your seating. And here you see one in the mouth. Now, we're a big believer of the brand Elos. Elos MedTech is a company, like I said before, they are a sole manufacturer for parts, of super parts, for example, of Noble Biocare. They are one of the biggest manufacturers for implant parts. But what's also very important for you to know, they have your back. If you use everything proper, you use the proper scan bodies, you use the proper library, and everything is done correctly, Elos warrants the implant, so they back you up in that one. So the scan bodies of Elos, it looks like this. You see a scan body peak on a titanium part, color-coded with a screw. So what it does, the scan bodies of Elos, they have using the 6 most common brands. I'll show you here. Here you see Zimmer, Biomed, Straumann, Noble Biocare, Neos, Dentsply, Sirona, and Camlog. Most platforms are available from each brand. Intraoral and lab scan bodies are now the same, so they use the same library. So your clinician and on the lab side, you have the same scan bodies, so there's no mistake. You have special screwdrivers for these ones. That's one screwdriver that fits all of these scan bodies. And if you look on the top of the scan body, you see a really tiny hole. That hole is much smaller than the diameter of the screw itself. So the screw doesn't fall out. We all know the headache of you're working with scan bodies, you tip it upside down and screw is gone. You have to order a new screw, extra cost, extra time. Now it's all in there and it stays in there. All of them are colored color coding and corresponding with the implant manufacturer's code and the color. So let me go through where do you find all the information you need? Well, it's quite simple, and I say very simple online. Let me show you, for example, this is the website of Elos. Elos has a very, very good website. On this website, you find actually all the information you need. And if you want to know where you can find all the implants that are available with the corresponding parts, you have here your downloads, your library, FAQ, videos, all the information is there. To speed it up, I already put, of course, some tabs open. And underneath the downloads, you have the download product catalog. But also you have the product and library overview. And the library overview is something I would love to show you. And I've opened up here already. I hope everyone is able to see this one. On the left side, you see all the implant part, the brands, next with the platform that corresponds with it, and the corresponding scan body. So this is all the parts that are available. Later on, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the tie bases and the rest you see on this information. But here you find everything you need. So it's always very clear what you need. If we scroll a little bit down, it's a little bit difficult to see. Sorry for that one because it's tilted. But you see the library names in tree shape or in Exocad or in dental wings. You see the name of the library and also what corresponds with what kind of scan body you need to use. So it's very, very clear what you need to use. Again, like I said before, it's so important that you and your clinician have the same information, are on the same page. So sometimes you get a file and you have no idea what kind of implant scan body there is used. So we're not magicians. We don't want to waste our time. Ring up your clinician and say, what is it? What do I need? And make sure. And that's why I like about Elos, because with Elos you have just basically one library. All of them are in there. Discuss with your clinician, hey, here is a set of scan bodies, or you can purchase it from us. We do 50-50. There are so many ways. I don't want to get involved in how you deal with your clinician or with your lab, but work together. Make each other's life a lot easier and less frustration. You always know I got the right information. I can scan. I can directly know, go on and no guessing. So that's very, very simple. Let me go back to the webpage of Elos. And there are also, if we go down a little bit more, much more manuals. Everything is available. We have a bunch of videos that are available. So there are so many things you can find out. Well, let me go back to the presentation. So if we're creating an implant model, we need to have, of course, the model. That's a traditional one or a printed, and we need the model analog. So what Elos has done is they used to have always model analogs. You can traditionally pour a model, a plaster model, or you can put them in a printed model. But there were some difficulties, or at least they found some ways they can improve the fitting, the positioning, and they came up with a new one, and it's called the printed model analog. And that's going to replace a traditional model analog. And there are quite some benefits about working with with this type of model analog. Here I show you one a little bit more in detail. You see, it's very advanced design and it's color coded. And if we're going to work with printed model analogs, what are the benefits? Well, first of all, there are three locking areas at the bottom. So to avoid rotating, to make absolutely sure your analog is at the right position. You've got multiple cutting wedges to avoid moving out again. And there is a screw connection at the bottom to fix your analog. It's very simple to put in the printed model analog. You put it on top of it. You got an basically positioning screwdriver. You put it in, pull it down. You got a plier to position it even further. And the best part is with this one, I think, is even the screw on the bottom. To fixate it, really make sure it's fixated into the model. And like I said before, the printed model analog is going to replace the normal model analog. So if we are not having a printed model, but we're going to do traditional plaster models, make sure you put the screw already in front of it into your printed model, or put a little bit of wax on top of it. That also works. Because when you're going to pour your model in plaster, you don't want the plaster running into your model analog. So make sure you're going to do that. See, it's very, very simple. And that's what I really like about working with Elos. It's thought about, it works. It is very, very accurate. Like I said before, they are sole manufacturer for a lot of implant companies, for example, the Noble Biocare. So it is very, very precise. So if we have created, or we have a model, a printed model, a normal model with an analog in it, and we want to create something on top of it, how are we going to make the connection? Well, something that's called the hybrid structures. And to make something that is called hybrid, we need a tie base underneath. And the two things we have is an engaging and a non-engaging tie base. And I'm going to tell a little bit first more about why Elos is because it has one concept for everything you need. For mainly all the biggest implant brands are there. You don't have to guess around, searching for parts, calling different suppliers. It's just you can get one part, or basically every part you need from just one supplier. Like I said, there are engaging and non-engaging options available. It's a biocompatible titanium alloy grade 5 and gold colored via anodizing. So it's color coded also. With everything in that's corresponding with the implant parts, and the tie bases are colored gold, so that is very convenient to when it's on the implant, you don't see the gray of the titanium itself, so it's being hid by the color by the gold coating. Straight or angulation up to 28 degrees. And by using a straight screw or, and this is a lovely word, hexalobular, just angulated, prosthetic screw. One of the good parts is when you're using a straight prosthetic screw, it has exactly the same interface as from the original manufacturers. So the clinician can use the original screwdrivers they probably already have inside the clinic. So it's also no guessing around. If you're using an angulated screw in your system, yes, then you need a separate screwdriver. That's one screwdriver that fits on all the angulated screw systems from Elos. So again, you don't need 100 different types of screwdrivers. You can use the original ones for straight and one angulated for all the angulated parts. And again, you must be used with this, it must be used with the corresponding Elos Accurate library. Like before, I thought a little bit more about the hybrid based. What are the possibilities? In this case, we're going to talk about the tie base for the engaging part. Some benefits about these new designs, and it's not so much only on the implant part itself or on the tie base, but also what it does with your part that you're going to construct on top of it. One of the difficulties we've also seen in the market that, yes, we have beautiful parts that are in between, but they have very sharp angles, and everything that's sharp is creating stress or a break point inside your restoration. So what they've done with Elos, they created smooth surfaces and rounded surfaces. So you got, for example, a really smooth chamfer preparation, a chamfer of 40 degrees, and that is perfect when you're working with ceramic restorations on top of it. The cement spacer goes up to the end towards the margin up to 0. So you got no micro leakage underneath there, or that you have some bonding material in between, because when you put it down, it's all the way up to the implant, so it's very stable to do that. Also with the straight ones, you can have an angulation up to 28 degrees. If we are going to work with the hybrid bases non-engaging, they are a little bit different. You see, they are all rounded, so they can rotate in every ideal position. Still, it's a chamfer preparation 40 degrees. The cement gap is all the way up to the margin to 0 degrees. Angulation is still 28 degrees, so they created a U shape, so that when you've got the U shape like that, you've got the screwdriver, it can more easily push tilt in the 28 degree possibility. And what's really good about this one is when you are working with a bigger case, especially these are mainly used for big bridges, for example, is when you have them all in and you want to turn your restoration upside down to put it on your model, normally they fall out. On top of this one, you see on the top side, you see it's called the guide grip. And the guide grip is basically, you can see there's a little spring. So when you put it in, it grips on the inside of your restoration. So when you turn your restoration upside down, these parts do not fall out of it. They're not stuck permanently, you can still get them out, but it gives a little bit more grip and you don't have to spend ages on your knees on the floor finding your implant parts. And what is also very important with these ones is because you have that U shape, you are able to have a 30-degree deviation between the implants. So you got 30 degrees between the implants and still 28 degrees with the screwdriver. So you know there are a lot of possibilities, and it gives you much more freedom than basically all the other implant parts. And where do you want to position your screw hole? Because we all know sometimes we get cases from the clinic that we're like, okay, how are we going to be able to put in a screw hole into this one because it's so far in the back or in a weird angle. And this gives you a lot of opportunities in getting still a reachable position for your screwdriver. And so that's really convenient for this one. So, but what are the tie basis benefits? And like I said, the options are you have an angulation in the screw channel. So you are having much more freedom in how do you gonna position everything. Where is your screw channel coming through? Is it coming through the buccal side of the restoration? That's something you actually don't want. So can you put it back into occlusal side, for example, or on the lingual or palatal side a little bit more? So you have a little bit more freedom in that. You have cement retention grooves. So you don't have to sandblast that part, you only sandblast the inside of your restoration. You can directly go into your bonding. And you got anti-rotational notches. And that's especially when you're working with non-engaging. So you know it's in the fixed position. So you always have the right position. When we are working with CADCAM, we explained a little bit more before, when we have the position of the implant, we need to get it into our digital system. But then how are we going to work from that part? We have the implant position, so we know what the tie base position is going to be, or your restoration will start. But from that part, we still need to know, we need to work on that one, and we have the tie base location, and we need to know where our restoration will going to be. So we need the cement gap, and from the cement gap, we know the surface to mill. Those all like implant position, tie base position, cement gap, that determines where my restoration is going to be, how is that going to fit like that one. So you're going step by step through everything. And we're going to design on top of it a crown or a bridge, whatever you need to create on top of that one. So we're going to create it like a regular crown. So your tie base is being actually the replacement of the preparation itself. A good part is how these tie bases are being created. You're going into a natural tulip shape into your restoration, so you can still define your emergence profile and make sure you have a good connection and enough pressure onto your soft tissue. And from that one, we also know where is the drill hole going to be from your implant, from your restoration and onto your implant. So how are we going to implement it? We're going to do a live integration into Exocad and 3Shape. So what I have some dongles I'm going to put in first of all. And I want to show you first where are we able to get our libraries, because that is very important to start with. Let me take you to the next screen. And this is all very simple on the website of Elos. And this is going to, here we have all the libraries. So it tells you what it is, the quick guides, how to do the integration. It's quite simple to show that to you. And what we have here is the download section. If we click the download section, so where we have now is here we see all the libraries that we need. So we have the library for 3Shape software, and you see it on the screen. Let me see if I can get a spotlight. Here we have all the libraries. We have the engaging for the engaging tie bases. We have the non-engaging. And we even can go for custom bar and bridges and for custom abutments. We have the, there's a US version because they have a different regulation. We have the one for Exocad, the one for dental wings, and there are some printing guides how to print everything. And the instructions for use, you can go all the way up there. But like I said, I'm going to do a small demonstration and how to do that. And what I've opened up, I have opened up my control panel for 3Shape. In the control panel, it is very simple how we can implement all this information. If you are not very familiar with your control panel, I have to say, be very careful what you're doing, because if you're going to change a lot of settings and you're not familiar what you change, it's going to be it can be quite challenging to be up and running again. So if you are not sure, ask your reseller, or if you have from us the Elos parts, we're more than happy to help you with that one. So what we can do over here is when you go to tools, there is the import export. We're going to click that one, and we want to say import our materials. So import materials, and I have the webinar demo. I have Elos libraries. I go to 3Shape. I have downloaded for this case, for this demonstration purpose, the engaging library. And what it is, it's a zip file. Unzip it on your desktop or the corresponding folder. And there is a dental system material file. And that's this one. It's called the DME. Select that one. We just quickly say open. What it does, it's going to load it into the back end of the software. And it gives me all extra information. The digital model design, the Elos Accurate Analog for printed models, all the implant systems. And you see again, Astrotech, Biomed, Brennemark, the Nobel Active Replace, all different ones are in there. Manufacturing processes, so that you can print locally your models. And for example, model material. We do import. We're going to import them all. And from that part, it's quite it says material has been imported successfully. So now we know if we go back to our control panel and we see our implant area, abutments, stopgap libraries, but implant systems. I got a bunch of these in them, but I see here in my library all the Elos parts that are available. Let me take one for example. Well, what's a good one? It really doesn't matter, but I'm always a big fan of Astra EB. And if I check, for example, what's in there, I see in there different parts that all belong to the implant library and to the information we all need. And this is the print mono analog. The old version, the new version. Am I saying that correct? No, this is not the right one. I'm sorry with this one. But this is the, for example, the old print model analog. It's, you see, it has one notch. And there are multiple in there. Oh yeah, of course. Let me show you why. I'm here in the model analog. That's the older version. Here we see the print model analog. If I go into that one, then we see the newer version. We see that over here. I hope it's all possible to see. And the scan body, so we know how to reposition another type of scan body of them. That's the tree-shaped one. That's the tree-shaped one is also corresponding with the Elos library. If you have the original scan bodies from tree-shape. Everything is in there, so that is perfect available. If I want to show you which one is webinar demo, Elos library. Show you another screen is I have also one for Elos, for Exocad. And if you download for Exocad, you get two type of folders. You get one of them is called the hybrid-based engaging. That is your implant library. But you got a separate library to create your models. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to your C drive where your files are, your demonstration. I got my latest version over here. I got, oh, I have to find the right one, and I am of course not in the right one. There we are. If we go into the Dental CAD app folder, you see a folder that's called library. And if I click library, I see the two corresponding folders I need to put the files in. So I got in Implant, I'm gonna drag them in and the engaging over here. And I got the model creator. I am gonna put the file in the model creator file. So that is all you need to do. Out of that one, you basically directly have integrated your Elos library into your Exocad or into your tree shape. Very, very simple. If you go and design from that part, you can directly say during designing what it is. What I can do is, let me quickly demonstrate. I am going to open my dental system for a second. I'm doing that on the background, of course. And I'm going to show you when we're selecting an implant case that you directly find your corresponding in it. So what I'm going to do is I am sharing my screen now with the dental manager. And we're going to start a new case. And it doesn't matter what kind of name it is, webinar. And I want to create a 1.6. It's going to be implant. And this is a customized abutment, but you can also have a screw retained crown. And screw retained crown is basically what's going on top of there. And here you see the libraries again. I have the engaging and the non-engaging. I select that one, for example, the engaging. I select the brand and the type, and then I select again the type. Here, do I still have a model analog on stock? Even we, from some brands, we still have 1 or 2 model analogs, but the rest is going to be all print model analogs. So if you're going to design a model, you need to be sure what you want to use. But it's very convenient, very easy to see, and you just select what you want to create. And from that one, you already selected what you want to have. From that part, you can directly go into scanning your case, or if you have an intraoral scan, directly into designing. Let me take you back to the presentation. And there we are. Basically, nothing I have left to say with this part instead of happy designing, because it's very convenient. It works very well. And one of the parts that I haven't mentioned yet is the cost effectiveness of working with Elos. Elos parts are overall quite more interesting price than from the original manufacturer. And even though it is says it has Elos brand on it, most of the time they manufacture for a lot of other companies, like I said before, like for Noble Biocare. So it can save you quite some money if you are working with this, and we call it third-party parts. Well, they still have all the original measurements and the original interfaces. So think about that. Why would you pay much more, especially when we're coming out of this difficult situation and out of this pandemic? Think about your processes, about your costs. So it might be very interesting just to think about, hey, is Elos really something that helps me? And I can give you already a definite answer about that, and that's definitely yes. It will save you a lot of frustration. It will save you a lot of money also if you're doing it wisely. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to contact us, reach out to us. We are more than happy to give you all the information you need and even help you with the first cases with it. No problem in doing that. If you want to know more about Dental Access, who we are, our product portfolio, our newest updates, also updates about vendors, please follow us on our social media channels. And for me, nothing rest to say, hey, like there are Any questions, please contact us and we're more than happy to help you. I wish you a really good day, enjoy it, and for the ones who are almost already in their weekend, have a great weekend. Thank you very much.